Money won't make me simple. 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 Going, it ain't a issue. Focus enough to see you hiding behind my people. Lied about your origins, doing that law and order bit, thinking that we won't notice it's oppression. 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 I just gotta be free. Black men trying to hang black boys like pilgrims, either off in a dirty cup or a new version of Jesus. It ain't crabs in a barrel, it's they bone marrow that you're scared of. They've been healing much quicker, been calling each other genius, but all you keep hearing is, that's my, well, what y'all think? That's all right, huh? That's they grandparents in them. 2 generations staring at you. That ain't anger. You are embarrassed because you still don't get it. You get it and still don't give it. The type to work for it and die over it and still don't live it. We call them air sippers. They try to budget abundance, share hunger, and act humble. That ain't part of the hustle. Even the women say you act like a broke. I didn't make it my life. That's part of the hype. I'm the product of spite that became foresight. Me mother Isis bore me 4 a.m. Me mother sun gon' rise, but I'm a child of the night. Before her, I do not worship. She make a man to fight. So good at listening, I don't have to lie. So good at partnership because I edify mine. Beast of the field, meet the soil. Money won't make me simple. 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 Going, it ain't an issue. Focus enough to see you hide behind my people. Lying about your origins, doing that law and order bit, thinking that we won't notice it's oppression. Oppression. If it's a battle to be the latest, the greatest, the Mercedes rider, to come from the inside and be an outsider, then how could and why would you come killing you swore you would die for? You put on, but really put on. Then it's all gone. And the tears coming, and there's a ribbon in the sky, but the same day, every time the sun is shown, there's one throne that the king is on. Once the king is gone, then the kingdom falls. Sure, you could ball hard, strive forth. It could be all sirloin and terry cloth, but to call it success, ain't it supposed to mean more? Like a mean mug from a green thug ain't the equivalent of an angry look that from a child that you took candy from. You wish his spirit could handle more, but he's so busy doing tricks that you think he'd do to the same thing to the steering wheel that he did with the handlebars. And the religion is as sweet as Cinnabons, telling all the victims' sons and daughters that themselves is what they've become a victim of. Listen up, ain't got on come with us. And that's what they waiting for, a journey with a passenger. Even if there's a quest that you are on, you don't just need supplies, you also need someone to carry on. The strength ain't in the sword, it is controlled by the arm that is swung and finally recharged through embrace, hugs, and love. My name is Antonius Northern. Welcome again to the Anchor Evening Gallery, where we discuss articles from Michiana's African American journal, The Anchor. Before we get into our conversation this evening, I'm going to go ahead and forward you over to a few of our images from our image gallery. Once again, good evening. I was told by a city councilman that this is spiritual war. He said, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Get thee behind me, Satan." He said this to me after he'd called another man Lucifer earlier in the evening. It's kind of humorous that man, after serving 20 plus years at this station, 7 of which he dedicated to making sure this community supported and had a quality public access station like the one you were seeing me on now. That man's name is Angel Hernandez. And in an attempt to sound more pretentious than appreciative, he took Angel's name and attempted to affix light bearing to a biblical piece of nomenclature, saying, "You've been an angel of light." Noticing that if you were even remotely familiar with the Bible, you know that he just called that man Lucifer. So when he said, "Get thee behind me, Satan," to me, due to his previous statements, I knew no matter how much he might have meant this man clearly did not value nor comprehend the meanings of the words or mumblings that stammered and stumbled off his tongue's tip. But I do not forgive him for his offense, not for having the lack of composure to explain himself, nor do I for the fear that forced him to hurl insults to score points in front of his colleague and constituent. I simply do not find it offense and incompetence. Therefore, none was taken. I am a manifestation of God, a child of God. I am the ye all God's song. You see, Jesus could say that to Peter, but the other way around just doesn't sound as good. As for the spiritual warfare, I agree. I concur. Our spirituality is that which we must protect and preserve. It is idolatry that stands between this weakened form and the spirit of a creator. The primary issue, I believe, just like my grandmother, or Grandma Jones as we all called her, she believed these idols caused us to get off course. She believed knowing, learning, and investigation taught you something and showed you the world. She knew idol worship perverted our intentions and brewed conflicts among us. She could see God's work in everything and everyone, but she forbid the worship of any form, statue, book, object, or person. She ain't say that just because she wanted us to be Jehovah's Witnesses, just like her. She said it because she ain't want you to use words that you couldn't spell and that you did not know. She didn't want us faking knowledge of anything, and definitely not faking knowledge of God. Now, Grandma is gone. Now, it ain't just God's image that the idolaters are attempting to remanufacture. Education, and its new idol is a schoolhouse door. Apparently, after learned by one person, the knowledge outside of the school is no longer redeemable. So it traps our understanding of what it is to learn. It steals our responsibility to teach our young. Community and camaraderie has been substituted for race. The only things we keep communal, the only things that we keep communal are suffering. And some kept the color that the universe provided. Saying, "I am black" has taken the burden off of backs and placed it as an honor, minus the obligation. We forget our stations. Partially because we forewent our communities, and partially, especially thanks to drugs, prisons, child support, and the education system, the black family feels it can get along just fine if daddy, brother, uncle, or even nephew are gone. But certain things will not change. You got to build the black. A beautiful black woman must give birth to the black that we claim. Another critical area inhabited by an idol is healing, newly named medicine. They may not be able to get you well, but they can make you feel better. Therefore, you leave the hospital with less health and more pills. You're okay, but cured? No. But did you come to get cured? Last I checked, doctors remove things, burn them. And if that doesn't work, docs got more nuclear options than the Manhattan Project itself. But the one idol that hurts most is love. As with others, love is a figurine, a placeholder for two people living in purpose and appreciating each other's efforts to fulfill their respective purposes. Ask yourself a few questions on the topic. What is love's appreciation of when dealing with a person without purpose? And what can you offer to be loved for if you are not willing to be a soldier for your purpose? The only answer I can come up with is that which looks the part, also known as vanity. The whole love of our culture has circumvented the purpose each person has to their family and their culture for simple images like the Cosbys, the Carters, the Obamas. Now we love for looks. And I would argue that the black man, the black woman, and the black child need family more than any other demographic for the sake of their sanity, not to mention economics and survival. There is no adherence within the family in the presence of these idols. The child belongs to the school, the mom is owned by fashion, and the dad to his employer. And they believe serving each of their masters brings them closer to the family that they've lost. This is why we buy Jordans and Disney apparel, not tutors or savings accounts. This is why women attract to men without rims. Women attract to men with rims, but yet no purpose. In the pursuit of a false image, the goal is set that you cannot control, nor measure or reach. Subsequently, a false god emerges. This false god demands compliance, sacrifice, rejects accountability, and makes the efforts of a man for the people, that makes the efforts of a man of the people no longer for the people. It'll make him think that he's a politician, not a black man trying to do business with the city on behalf of the disenfranchised. We have all been vain. Of this, none of us are innocent. But it is an offense that is forgivable if and only if you believe that it is not righteous. We need our love back. Some might say we need Jesus. I say we need who he was so we might model loving us, the real us, not the image. Loving what makes us, loving that mother, that father, loving the work the Father did to feed us by whatever means that he did, loving the efforts of our mothers to nurse us, and loving the efforts of our mothers to carry us for 10 months. It might help us to know that loving our parents in our African heritage and in a biological sense is what reproducing is all about, both in genetics and in our character. As we pass along those wise words and beautiful features from our ancestors, just know that it is written and was written inside of Muslim, Christian, Judaic, and Kemetic tradition that the resurrection was a raising of an erection to rebirth the ancestors, a raising of erection for the Father to find rebirth in his Son, a raising of erection to rebirth the genetics of our ancestors into heavenly vessels. Carrying and manifesting the genetics of our mother and father is our primary purpose. In short, if we are seeking to make love, we are seeking to make them. And here to chat a little bit about that is one of my esteemed colleagues and also fellow contributor to the Anchor, Mr. Ray Poindexter. How you doing, brother?
Hey, the pleasure's all mine, brother.
Right on, right on. I hope I didn't last too long up there, man. I had a lot on my chest. It was a tough week here in South Bend politics. How's everything been with you?
Hey, I'm living, man. I'm blessed. I cannot complain at all. I'm just trying to contribute and do what I do. So everything's good.
Well, you know, there are some folks that may or may not know, but you are actually from South Bend, correct?
Yes, indeed I am.
You currently live where you at now?
In Indianapolis, Indiana.
How you liking Indy?
Indy's cool, man.
Yeah?
It's cool. It's a different culture, but it's cool.
That's what's up. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just about yourself and background. So tell me, what side of town are you from, or what part of South Bend are you from? And tell me, how has that inspired your writing?
My roots stem from the southeast side of South Bend.
Wildcats.
Indeed. In regards to what type of influence it's had on me, I mean, it's home. It's where I grew up, and I've had the pleasure of, being deeply rooted. And with that, that's been able to keep me grounded, as I've traveled, throughout the U.S. and anywhere that I go. So in terms of my writing, it has definitely kept my writing grounded, kept it honest, kept it truthful, because I'm close to my home still and my family. So, everything that I write has to be a reflection of who where I was born. So in that regard, that's how it's affected me.
Well, I guess I don't mean to be Captain Obvious, right? But you got to let us know what AWA stands for, and if you would be so kind, just tell us about some of the endeavors that you are a part of now, and how folks can, connect in with you and your creative process and your craft, because you're not just a writer. You also do some other stuff that is awesome for the people.
I appreciate it. AWA is Artists with Attitude, and it's one of the artistic products that was inspired, by the craft, in all regards, not just writing or music, and design and illustration.
Every now and then, I guess you get a phone call on here. It's a strange thing, but it could happen.
You're a busy man. So it's one of the products that we create, and the brand that the umbrella brand is Formula 808. Subsidiaries are, Ink Nation, Creative Writing, and Design Crate. Okay. And so that's pretty much the entrepreneurial umbrella that I am under. So with that being said, that pretty much inspires what I aim to do, which is inspire the youth into, with an entrepreneurial mindset. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm pretty much a part of, that trying to build, add economical value to the culture through, the crafts.
That makes total sense. Now, you're a member of a community of people that have a kind of a heightened sense of awareness of, the factors that play into what creates our reality. You have probably a strong sense of government. You have a strong sense of economics, and so for those of us that are African American that have this awareness, we fly under a multitude of monikers. So I'm gonna just list off a couple, and if one of these happens to apply to you, you let me know, or if you could just kind of elaborate on what aspect of awareness you like to focus in on. So there are some titles like Black Conscious, Kemetic, Hebrew Israelite, the Moors, Five Percenters, or any other of many names. So is there a specific tradition that you follow under?
Not particularly. I mean, all of those lanes, I am familiar with them, and with all due respect to them, it's just, I tend to try to stick to my own journey. So I'm all about, truth. That's really what I'm all about. And every man holds his own. So, but as far as the consciousness is, I would like to call it more being aware, and having knowledge of self.
Yeah, I think for me and in my experience of journey of awakening, if you will, right, is one of those things that most folks and please folks at home, please understand that by no means do I mean the incendiary and notorious group, but there's this expression called the Illuminati, right? And so when you hear this expression, without the proper set of awareness, you have a struggle with understanding what the term actually means. And so when you hear of groups that are like Masons or the Moors or the Kemetics or the Hebrew Israelites, you kind of get this skewed vision of what's happening, and you say these guys are moving into that realm of the Illuminati, right? I don't know if that's happened to you, where they're like, so are you Illuminati now, Despo?
I mean, you always gonna get that resistance or that that critique from people that aren't where you're at, and everybody's entitled to their their own views. But what I try to stick to, I come from everything from a culture standpoint. I'm a reflection of my people. So with that being said, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about trying to search for knowledge of myself, knowledge of my culture, and help rebuild, because that's basically what our issue is right now. As far as the the Illuminatis and all of that stuff, I think those are all just facets of distractions. You know what I mean? And I kind of stay away from that. I just focus on what my journey, what my mission is.
Yeah, and I think that's something that happens, and maybe you could even share something with the folks who are newly awakening, those folks who are just getting the information and may be a little bit frustrated because as a part of my journey as well, I can recall when I first heard just the narrative of the Bible origin story, and hearing that there was other stories that reflected a resurrection, as I said in my opening. Those types of moments can really be eye-opening. It can be an epiphany. It can be a rageful process. So I think as you grow in your awareness, you begin to understand how things fit into the puzzle, and the soreness of almost feeling lied to. And in many respects, African Americans definitely have that extra grind, not just in the external sense with regard to white folks or whomever they feel may have told them the wrong thing, but also in the internal sense. There's a lot of folks who were inside of the black church that have now been hurt. So if you could lend anything, because of my story was, I was quite upset when I first learned some of the biblical stories had actually found or were younger than the ancient African stories. And I was like, what? You mean to tell me I'm the brown-skinned one and they didn't tell me my story first, and then I got this story second? And then you kind of go into this process. You're like, oh my. So there's a good chance that the black folks wrote the Bible too? What is going on?
Indeed. I mean, it's a powerful thing. It's a mind-blowing thing. You know, I was raised in a Baptist church, so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, and I wasn't so-called awakened until, you know, years after that. So for me, it was more, it is hurtful. It is something that, you know, will come off disrespectful, and it will anger you and in some ways enrage you. But what I had to figure out was it's a season for everything. Everybody has a season. So, you know, knowledge is infinite, right?
Definitely.
So it's one of those things that, you know, we can't expect. I think the problem with us is we all think that we are supposed to be on similar paths. And sometimes we focus on the next person's path and we compare and contrast to ours. But in regards to knowledge or the lack thereof, you know, you have your own season, your own journey. So for me, it was definitely something that was mind-blowing, but at the same time, I felt fortunate that I was able to come out of what, you know, was told to me and just try to search for my own, you know.
Have you had a chance to interact with any of your formal spiritual leaders, though, after having this awakening? Have you had a chance to just say, hey, did you know this information before I discovered it? And or even if you haven't had that experience, can you speak into the space of what you think the reasons that a person might wait? Because as I said before, the rage that erupts inside of some African Americans is incredible, and they go on to some serious tirades thereafter. Like
Indeed.
they, you know, show up very, very angry. So,
I can't say I've had, you know, too many interactions with anyone that was a so-called spiritual leader for me, simply because I can't honestly say that I was, you know, really sold 100%. So I've never been the type of person to let anyone lead me. I just follow the religion, you know, as a result of me being, you know, rooted as far as family morals and values. Nowadays, you know, I when I first, you know, came into my space, it was something that I approached different people with. And as you can imagine, you know, I got, you know, varied reactions. But now I don't waste my time.
Understood.
Because I respect everybody's path, you know, and I try to at least. And so my position is that as long as you don't try to bombard me with your beliefs, then I can respect yours.
That makes a great deal of sense. And if you can, you know, respect a person's journey, you can better align yourself with them. And you can also, as I was saying in the opening space, you can start to appreciate the person and not look at them and see how they have subscribed to a certain thing, but you see them for who they are, what their humanity is, and that dynamic that you guys establish becomes much more real and sincere.
Agreed.
And it really gets us away from what I was also speaking about, which is this idolatry, right? And one of the ways in which that I love how you wrote inside of your piece, Queen Melanin, about the African American woman. And what I saw that was the most kind of eye-opening for me is that you didn't just look at it as looking at the woman that you saw in front of your face for today, but you looked at who the black woman was throughout history and gained an appreciation of more of her articulated features, and then also spoke into the space of what it takes to carry that burden or to carry that responsibility of being what you said is one of the greatest creatures that God has ever created. Or that the Creator had ever created, I believe is, and I don't want to misquote yourself.
No, I may have said that, but you know, my current position is that the African woman is the greatest creation that the Creator has graced us with. That's my current position. That piece particularly was written for and to the African woman, and the purpose of it was to reference, like as you said, the burdens and the values or the lack thereof, you know, in America today. And so what I did was I wanted to speak to her inevitable brilliance and value and beauty as it applies to our culture, just to try to assist with reinstilling the idea that, or the fact that, you know, she is definitely inevitable to our rebuilding, to the whole structure of our mere existence. in the sense that, you know, she is the reflection of even the beautiful earth that we inhabit today. She is the epitome of that. So that's what that piece really was in its entirety.
Because there's not one of the really cool things about the dynamic of a black woman is, you know, the skin tone of her, but also how that reflects in you know, what you see inside of the sky, and then you see, you know, the stars that come out of that,
Right.
and the life that is, you know, available to us from the stars, especially the one that's most important to us, which is our sun. And so my question to you, and don't get too far into it, because fortunately for us, Michiana's African American Journal is exactly what we said is. It's a journal, and so what happens is that we have the opportunity to have other contributors who are reading the work to then review and kind of critique, rebut, affirm, whatever the case may be. So we have one of the authors that had an opportunity to read your piece, Queen Melanin, and she had some views to the contrary. But I think that the appreciation of the African American woman is still the most important axe to grind for the both of you. She speaks more into the individuality space. You speak more into the kind of medicinal usage for the earth, right? So like, what is it that she is the prescription to for our community? And one of the things that I wanted to ask you though is have you ever had just inside of your day-to-day interactions kind of pushback, like saying, don't put that weight on me. Don't put that responsibility of being God's greatest creation. I just want to be me.
Not necessarily that particularly, but I've had several instances in which, you know, I've tried to articulate, you know, what my position is and why I'm saying what I'm saying, and try to explain to, you know, plenty of African women, you know, what my views are in terms of, you know, from a cosmetic standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, you know, just from an overall social standpoint. And I have, you know, received some resistance, you know, in terms of, you know, because everybody's not where I'm at. So I've received, you know, some flack in that sense, but none of which, you know, none of them were offended by the fact that I'm telling you that I personally believe that you are the most beautiful thing on this earth. So, I mean, how can you argue with that?
And on that note, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask that we go to a few more images from our Anchor Evening Gallery, and then after that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have an awesome conversation with the author of I believe it was called The Modern Queen, and we're also going to have a great conversation about interracial dating, because for me, one of the things that I think is most important is that when we come together, that we don't come together for vain purposes, and we come together as a way of actually trying to achieve a specific end. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys take a look at a few of our Anchor Evening Gallery images, and then we'll be back with Khadijah and also Kelly. Thank you.
Subscriber cannot receive messages at this time.
right, we are back. We still have Despo here. We also have Kelly, and we also have Khadijah. And we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation about some interracial dating. But first, let's get some, some early questions out. So, I'm gonna kind of just ask a question, and we can kind of pass it around. Is that okay? We'll start with Kelly.
Sounds good.
Indeed.
All right. So I guess one of the very first questions that I want to ask before we get into this whole soup of what interracial dating is about is, does dating for you normally include sex?
Yeah.
At this point, no, I don't think dating should. I'll say that. I'll take that position on it.
Yeah, and I kind of concur on that level with you with regard to it should, but I don't think that I'm one whose will is always so strong. So I'm gonna have to say should, and then lean towards the in practice no, or in practice yes.
So how are you guys just deciding, like, if you have sex in a relationship? Do you know before you get into the relationship, I'm going to have sex with this person or I'm not? Or is that just a stance you take in general?
Well, in regards to the question, it was about dating. So I think there is a huge difference between dating and a relationship. So if you decide at that point after dating that you are going to build, then I think then I may change my position on, as far as when intercourse would be a part of it. But at that point you're building. So I think
okay.
that's part of it. But as far as dating on a social level, then I think, I don't think that it has a place in there. Like, as you said, in good practice.
Yeah. Then I misinterpreted. When you said dating, I thought you meant like just
You
dating.
meant like
But
dating for building. I was thinking dating for building as well, but
Okay,
I think
I misinterpreted that.
So you mean like dates,
Dating,
going
just meeting out and meeting
that
people.
kind of
Okay, that's more like just meeting people and getting to know people. But if you're gonna obviously do something more serious, obviously you want to wait till that. So yeah, I misinterpreted that question. Sorry about that.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, what your intentions are with the dating. I'm a man of 32 years with a 7-year-old, so I know that there has been an occasion where I didn't even really want to go on a date. I just wanted to do some strange things.
Sure.
So that, is within the context of dating and didn't have the intentions of building because of, again, sometimes you have a mindset to do a certain thing and you allow for different maxims or different things to lead your path instead of what your logic tells you to do. I got another question for you guys though.
Sure.
I'm gonna kind of jump ahead. I was going to ask you guys a little bit about what sex's role plays inside of your relationship. So if you guys want to jump into that question a little bit later, feel free. But let's get right into the core of this thing. Was there a pivotal moment, and if so, when you decided what your stance would be on interracial dating? Was there like a certain or specific person, an event? Some people have had, really upsetting events that have said, maybe this group of people is not indicative, or that, that skin color is not the one that's inherently for me, or maybe even innately for me. So yeah, was there a pivotal moment for you, Khadijah, that made your stance?
No, probably not. I kind of come from a mixed family where my family is kind of like, we really are not all African American. We take people into our family that are not predominantly African American. So like it never was kind of a question. I kind of grew up in a mixed area. I grew up in Chicago, a hodgepodge of everybody, and that kind of just shaped my idea of what love should be. I see people walking down the street, and it's not just, love is not just meant to be shared between, just because we're the same color, we're gonna love the same way.
Is there a difference between the love that you share between, and I'll definitely get over and ask you guys this question, but is there a difference between the love that you have for the friends that you meet and then the relationships that you have? Is there a difference between your friends and the person that maybe you share your bed with, you share your heart with, the person that you plan to, build the rest of your life with?
Of course, just like there's a difference between like an acquaintance and a friend you know, everybody has a different level of deepness that you share with them, and, you know, a certain level of closeness.
And Despo, did you have a pivotal moment that helped you to formulate your stance on interracial dating?
Not necessarily a moment. I would say growing up, I've always had some level of insecurity about it, and so it was always that there. But that, I think that was due to the upbringing, what you see in the society you live in. But through my my cultural education and my growth in terms of what the society I really live in, the understanding of self, knowledge of self. I think that's what formed my position.
And Kelly?
Yeah, same here. I found that I grew up in New York City, and my family comes from another country. So I always felt like I was pretty much not a part of America, essentially, because I came from a different kind of background from my family coming from another country and all that. And New York's a diverse place, kind of like Chicago. So throughout growing up, I would always meet different kinds of people, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, all kinds of different types of languages and cultural backgrounds. So it was just something normal for me. We would just hang out, watch the same TV shows, all of that. So it's just more so like a natural progression. If we're cool enough to be friends, why not we be cool enough to go out and date each other, pretty much. So
I have a question that hopefully we can all kind of enliven this bit a bit. Do any of you guys see the act of actually having sex as being a thing that you do as a way of reproducing, and if so, versus basically recreation, right? And if so, what is your intention? Do you see it as a biological function? Do you see it as a way of achieving a certain means? And does it have a relationship to the culture that you come from, or even your parents, to be more specific? So anybody can chime in on this.
you know what? I would think it's a function of both. It's just a biological thing because we're human anyway, and also an environmental thing too, in terms of what we're attracted to, or what we would like, or what we would find beautiful, as an example. So I don't think sex is just about making more people or having humanity survive. I think it's part of that, but I also think it's also being able to share that expression with somebody else. So it's more than just making people. It's more a spiritual or more of a connecting type of mechanism.
I mean, what would you think, Khadijah?
Sex is awesome.
I kind of agree.
I mean, I'm sure. I agree with definitely. The act of is definitely enjoyable.
I was gonna
You know what I
agree
mean?
too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But in terms of,
Because I can agree 2 times. on
yeah, what it really is, it's like we know what it is. We know it, but we know ultimately it's a part of the building process. It's a bonding experience, and it is ultimately to procreate. So, and we know that it affects our feelings and our emotions as we engage. So that's why engaging in it recreationally with the right person is very important. It's these days especially, it's dangerous to do it just recreationally from a irresponsible perspective. But when you're with a person and you're building, then yeah, you guys can have fun with it. But ultimately, it's part of that building process. It's part of that expression, that emotional expression process, and it ultimately is to continue to ensure your existence.
I think one of the things that makes it so enjoyable, and I think that it might even be a bit of the wiring, is that it's fun to make new people. Now, my studio team here at WNIT is definitely letting us know that we need to go ahead and move on to the next portion of the segment. So I do greatly appreciate you, Kelly. I appreciate you, Despo, for stopping in and having a conversation with us. Khadijah, you as well. Thank you so much for coming. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go over to a few more images from the Anchor Evening Gallery, and then we will be back with a awesome performance from our brother, Young Blue.
Subscriber cannot receive messages back in time.
poverty mixed with equality. It was promised to me. I'm just trying to see why is he following me and he keep following me. Stand over me, watching me bleed. Obama, you gon' let this slide, my. How they gon' tell us not to ride, my. Hold up, said nobody knows. I still like nobody knows. I said nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. I said young boy lost in the system. Said how the hell did he get lost in the system? Lord, can they pray for it? Them judges love to have them days for it. It's my life, you wanna play with it. Man, why the police wanna prey on us? Lord, I thought a king died for us to live a different way. Another black kid died from a different K. Land of the free, or so they say. Ask about Willie Lynch, we all meant to slaves. USA, the big USA, the home of the dirty politics and KKK. And when we walk up in the mall, man, they look your way. And if you young and you black, you get shot in your face. They go home scot-free. People walking today, he got a little aggressive with you, so they jump in the case. Come on now. But nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. But hold up. They fear what they don't understand. They gave us a false hope, fed us a false plan, want to assassinate my swag and leave my mind open. They blind by fear, can't see with their eyes open. Caught up in smoke, trapped with their mind choking. Young brothers with guns, they blast till it's wide open. We trapped in the world of danger and loss. We trapped in the maze, the marinade in the sauce. What they saying is false, trying to play like a boss. Feed society lies, and we're paying the cost. No receipt for that. So they charge it to the game. Young brothers earn the stripes, but it's hardly for the fame. It's time for a change, but it's hard to feel the same when every time you hear shots feel like they coming for your brain. Sirens steady coming, the violence still remain. Nobody is talking, they silence in the pain like man. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. It feel like nobody knows. And fight the power, y'all. Let's fight the power, y'all. Let's say power to the people. It feel like nobody knows.
Was a great second-term president. I think you got to go back to World War II, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so look at Indiana's history with one-term governors before the 1950s. And one-term governors make a lot of sense to me, too. I hate to say that to our governors.
Well, wasn't that the
seeking
initial
re-election, but
the initial idea of our founding fathers was to bring people from all walks of life,
citizen legislators,
and one term, no more than two, and not make a business out of it.
and no professional politicians, and let the voters decide the term limits. The voters need to be together in this. I mean, wouldn't it be great in America if we could elect someone like Trump with 80% of the vote? He would have a mandate. The people would finally in America be on the same page. The rest of the world would look at us like, God, that's a country that's got a leader.
If we could trust the internet, it'd be great if we could just all vote like we do for America's, singing, whatever those shows are, where we all vote for whoever, Kelly Clarkson or whoever it is. Why can't we do that for president? But we're getting hacked so much by the Chinese and the North Koreans. I mean, we wouldn't even know if North Korea put the president in if we did it that way. But yes, it would be great if it. Why do we have to vote on Tuesday?
Well,
why can't why do we have to close the polls at 6 p.m.?
I had an uncle that was an experimental engineer with Alice Chalmers in LaPorte, and he said this. He said, you can't design a voting system that human beings can't screw up.
That's true.
And that's about truth.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to the hanging Chad days. I mean, you can't create a voting system that people are too stupid to use. I mean, you can't create a website that people can't sign up for. I mean, I get people all the time asking me, I'm filling out something on the internet and I don't know what federal judicial district I'm in. I said, well, you're in Indiana and you're in northern Indiana. I mean, they just can't even figure things out.
But they keep moving things around, and that's another problem.
But we're in northern Indiana. I mean, we're not in California. You got to pick Illinois,
What I meant
southern
about
Illinois.
the polling places. You know, you might go to your polling place on one year,
if
and the
it
next
requires a
place is
decision making, they're going to
somewhere else.
decide wrong.
Well,
and look at the youth in America. They've voted wrong. They voted for somebody who destroyed their future, and they're going to do it again and again and again because they choose wrong. I mean, you have to choose right. I mean, I remember my child saying once, at 3 years old, Dad, I think I figured out test taking. It's either the right answer or it's the wrong answer. Yeah, you're right. You got to pick the right answer. So, I mean, when we have these candidates, we got to pick the right candidate for our country, not for our cause, not for our pocketbook.
Well, I think a lot of people have been really
not
disappointed with the Bush administration. A lot of people were very disappointed with the Obama administration. In the 3 minutes we have left,
let's talk economic history.
Yes.
Because when it comes right down to it, it's the economic history, not the political history, not the social history, not whether we've allowed gay marriage, not whether we've, allowed abortion. The country is about economic history. I mean, we have to survive financially or we can't be the world policeman. We can't. And economic history shows who's been on the right side of what.
who said it's the economy, stupid?
Well, Clinton did.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, you want to
And-
take us out? We have about 2 minutes left, and maybe we can just
Well,
wrap it up.
We want to just thank our viewers, all 5 of you out there who watched Donna and Kavanaugh and I on this show on public access television, Channel 99 on Comcast. It's also Channel 99 on AT&T. But you have to click a couple more times if you're on AT&T to watch us, and we want to thank those people that take the extra effort. Donna, 3 years doing this?
Yeah, congratulations.
Looking for a radio gig again? Now
Absolutely.
that politics are starting up again?
Yes.
So, but I don't know if we can be as harsh on one another as we used to be. We used to really
Have we
go
mellowed?
at it. I think we've mellowed, and I think we've learned from the mistakes of the people that we did support. I mean, if you supported Obama or Clinton, there were times when you felt they made a mistake. If you supported Bush, there were times you thought he made a mistake. And so none of these leaders are perfect. Certainly the voters were not perfect. And I think we have learned from our mistakes, if you will.
The voice of wisdom. Thank you, Doug. It's been a pleasure the past 3 years. Thank you to the studio here, and thank you for watching, all 5 of you, up to at least 50 by now.
Give yourself a
We
round of
appreciate
applause.
it. Okay,
right?
there you go. And you too. Thanks for watching. Stay up with all the current events, and we'll help you get there too. Bye
Thanks,
for
Nick.
now.
Thanks, Nick, in the control room.
Thank you for watching.